This is Dr. Mario San Bartolomé, your family physician and addiction medicine specialist, and I want to thank you so much for the wonderful questions that I've been receiving. One of them in particular caught my eye because it's a question that I get quite a bit, and that is, what's the difference between addiction and dependence? If you're dependent on something, isn't that the same as being addicted to it? And guess what? It is not the same. And I'll give you an example. If grandma has a knee problem and she's had all the things that she can have for medications, and maybe eventually she was given a very powerful type of medication called an opioid, okay, like a Vicodin or Norco, one of these as an example, and she's on it for 6 months, 8 months, taking it every day. It's helping her get up and walk around. Well, she will be dependent actually on that opioid in the sense that if we remove it, if we don't give it to her the next day, she's going to have consequences. In other words, she might have a little sweating, a little anxiety. She might even have a little bit more pain. She might have a little difficulty sleeping. And all of those things are what we call withdrawal. That's a withdrawal from a substance. And in this case, the specific withdrawal is from an opioid. And that's dependence. But you know what? Grandma would not really qualify in that situation as being addicted. Because to really have addiction, which may or may not include dependence, you actually have to have these other either behavioral things or consequences in your life. As an example, you are not constantly preoccupied with obtaining the substance, that you don't continue to do something despite negative consequences, that you're willing to take high risks to obtain the substance, and that you might even start doing things that you normally would never do, like doctor shopping, for example, or obtaining the substances from the street. These are things that grandma was not doing. She was following her directions. But if you took the medication away, she would have a consequence. We call that dependence. And all the other things, when your life begins to spiral a bit out of control and there's all these other consequences around it, with or without the dependence part, that's what we call addiction. So it is not the same. And maybe the best example on the other side of the spectrum from grandma is a baby being born to a mom that uses opioids. It is not correct to say that the baby has an addiction, because the baby will never doctor shop. That baby is not continuing to do things despite negative consequences. The baby's just the baby, but it's been exposed to a substance and it's dependent and will go through withdrawal. And we just call that dependence. So baby will be born dependent, say on an opioid, but that's not the same as addiction. I hope these examples help give a little context about what is and isn't addiction and dependence. Great question. I really appreciate those. Thank you so much, and please keep sending them on in.